The forgotten relic. The winds howled over the icy wastelands of Antarctica, carrying shards of snow that glinted under a pale sun. Captain Mira O'Connell pulled her scarf tighter around her face as she trudged through the frozen expanse. Her boots crunched against the ice, each step taking her deeper into the barren, unforgiving landscape. She wasn't here for pleasure. This was a scavenger's mission, and scavengers like her didn't have the luxury of turning back. Mira had received a strange signal a week ago, one unlike anything she'd encountered before. It pulsed in short, steady beats, almost like a heartbeat. When she traced its origin to this desolate part of the world, she knew she couldn't ignore it. Earth had become a shadow of its former self, forgotten by the rest of the galaxy, and opportunities like this didn't come often. If the signal led to anything valuable, she could sell it to the highest bidder and finally leave this dying planet behind. Her handheld scanner beeped louder as she neared her destination. The readings were off the charts, unlike anything she had seen in her scavenging career. "Almost there," she muttered, her voice muffled by the scarf. She descended a ridge, and then she saw it, an enormous structure buried beneath the ice. At first glance, it looked like a mountain of black metal, ancient and weathered. The design was strange, sleek yet intimidating, with sharp angles that hinted at something more than just machinery. As Mira moved closer, she realized it wasn't a structure at all. It was a ship, a massive ship. Her heart raced. This wasn't a simple cargo vessel or some old human spacecraft. This was something far older, far more dangerous. She placed a gloved hand on the metal, and despite the freezing temperatures around her, it was warm to the touch. "What the hell is this?" she whispered. She walked along its side, searching for a way in. The ship's surface was covered in strange engravings, symbols that didn't match any known language. Yet, as she stared, a few of the symbols seemed vaguely familiar, as if they belonged to a forgotten version of her own tongue. After an hour of searching, she found an opening, a jagged crack that seemed almost deliberate, as if someone had tried to seal the ship but failed. Mira squeezed through the gap, her flashlight piercing the ship's dark interior. The air inside was stale, but breathable. The walls shimmered faintly, as though they were alive, pulsing with a faint blue light. She moved cautiously, every sound echoing through the silent halls. Suddenly, her scanner beeped erratically. The signal was coming from deeper inside. She followed it, her heart pounding in her chest. The ship's corridors seemed endless, twisting and turning like a maze. But eventually, she reached a large chamber. In the center of the room stood a massive console, its surface covered in symbols. Above it floated a holographic display of the Earth, rotating slowly. Mira approached, her hands trembling. She reached out and touched the console, and the entire ship seemed to wake up. The floor beneath her vibrated as the lights grew brighter. A deep hum filled the air, and the hologram shifted, displaying a series of strange, glowing diagrams. Mira took a step back, but before she could react, a voice echoed through the chamber. Designation: Olympia. Activation sequence initiated. Battle protocols engaged. The voice was calm, yet it carried an air of authority that sent chills down Mira's spine. The console lit up, and she could see text scrolling across the hologram. She couldn't read most of it, but one phrase stood out: human command required. Mira's mind raced. This ship wasn't just old. It was ancient. It was from a time when humans were more than scavengers, a time when they were warriors, rulers of the stars. But why was it buried here? And why was it waking up now? Her thoughts were interrupted by a loud noise outside the ship. Mira rushed to a nearby viewport and saw something that made her stomach drop. A fleet of alien ships was descending through the atmosphere, their sleek designs unmistakable. It was the Zenthari, a cruel and powerful empire that had ruled the galaxy for centuries. They must have detected the signal, just like she had. The Zenthari didn't respect humans. They saw them as a failed species, a joke. Mira knew they wouldn't hesitate to destroy her and claim the ship for themselves. She turned back to the console, her hands trembling. "Can you fight them?" she asked, her voice shaky. The ship's voice responded instantly. "Affirmative. Defense systems online. Awaiting command." Mira took a deep breath. She had a choice: run and abandon the ship or stay and fight. The odds were against her, but something inside her refused to give up. This wasn't just about her anymore. This ship was a piece of humanity's forgotten past, a relic of a time when they were strong. And now it was her responsibility. She placed her hand on the console and whispered, "Engage defense systems." The ship roared to life, its weapons systems activating with a hum of power. Outside, the Zenthari ships opened fire, but their shots dissipated against an invisible shield. The Olympia responded with a barrage of energy beams, cutting through the alien ships like paper. Mira watched in awe as the Zenthari fleet was obliterated. She didn't understand how, but one thing was clear: this was no ordinary relic. This ship was a weapon, and it had just reminded the galaxy what humans were capable of. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy would have to take Earth seriously. The Laughing Galaxy. News of the battle above Earth spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Zenthari Empire, notorious for their ruthless domination, had suffered a humiliating defeat at the hands of a relic piloted by a mere human scavenger. At first, no one believed it. How could the galaxy's weakest species, the eternal laughingstock of advanced civilizations, destroy a Zenthari fleet? On the shimmering capital world of Velcaris Prime, the Zenthari High Council convened. The council chamber, carved from obsidian and glowing with pulsating red energy, buzzed with outrage. At the center sat Supreme Commander Vorak, his massive frame covered in ceremonial armor, his four eyes narrowing as he listened to the reports. Destroyed by a human relic. Vorak's voice boomed, silencing the murmurs in the chamber. He slammed his clawed fist on the table, cracking the stone. Are we to believe that primitives with sticks and stones have suddenly become a threat? A nervous officer stepped forward, holding a holographic display. "Supreme Commander, the readings from the battle are unprecedented. The energy signatures from the human warship exceed even our most advanced dreadnoughts. It appears to be a relic from the..." Vorak interrupted with a snarl. "From the old wars. The humans fought like animals back then, desperate and reckless. Whatever weapon they've unearthed is nothing more than a ghost of their violent past." "But, sir," the officer continued, "the ship destroyed our fleet with ease. Its defenses were impenetrable. If we don't act quickly, it could become a rallying symbol for the humans." "Silence," Vorak growled. "Send the Eclipse Squadron to Earth. Destroy the relic and anyone foolish enough to protect it. Let the galaxy see what happens to those who challenge the Zenthari Empire." The council erupted in agreement, their laughter echoing through the chamber. Humans, they thought, would never be a true threat again. Meanwhile, aboard the Warship Olympia, Captain Mira O'Connell was still trying to grasp what had happened. She sat in the ship's command chair, the holographic displays circling her with streams of incomprehensible data. The AI, Olympus, floated beside her as a glowing humanoid figure of light. "Explain to me again," Mira said, her voice weary. "How is this ship capable of obliterating an entire fleet when it's been buried in ice for who knows how long?" Olympus's voice was calm and patient, like a teacher speaking to a student. The Olympia was constructed during the height of humanity's military dominance, a time when Earth was the galactic superpower. Its technology remains unparalleled, even by today's standards. Mira leaned back in the chair. If humanity was so powerful, what happened? How did we end up like this, scrambling in the dirt for scraps? Olympus hesitated, as if choosing its words carefully. During the Great Collapse, humanity sealed its most dangerous technologies, including the Olympia, to prevent them from falling into the wrong hands. Without their tools of war, humans were forced to retreat into isolation. Mira frowned. So you're saying humanity chose to lose? They gave up. Not gave up, Olympus replied. They chose survival over destruction. However, the galaxy has since forgotten their strength. Mira let out a bitter laugh. Yeah, and now we're the punchline of every alien joke. Suddenly, the ship's alarms blared, pulling Mira out of her thoughts. What now? She muttered, spinning the chair to face the main display. Olympus's form flickered, its voice now serious. Hostile ships detected. Xanthari Eclipse Squadron approaching at high velocity. Estimated time to contact, 10 minutes. Mira's stomach twisted. The Xanthari weren't going to let her little victory go unanswered. Can we take them? She asked, trying to sound confident. The Eclipse Squadron consists of advanced warships equipped with adaptive weaponry. Victory is uncertain. Great, Mira muttered. What are our options? Olympus displayed a tactical map, showing the Xanthari ships closing in. We can attempt an ambush using the Olympia's cloaking system. Alternatively, we can engage in direct combat, though the risk of damage to the ship is high. Mira's mind raced. She had barely figured out how to operate the ship, and now she was supposed to outmaneuver a fleet of professional killers. Her hands tightened into fists. Activate the cloaking system, she said. Let's see if we can catch them off guard. The Xanthari Eclipse Squadron entered Earth's orbit, their sleek, black ships gliding silently through the void. At their head was Commander Cale Verne, a cold and calculating tactician. Human life signs detected aboard the Relic, one of his officers reported. Cale sneered. A single human piloting an ancient relic. Pathetic. Prepare to neutralize. The Xanthari ships closed in on the Olympia's last known position, their weapons charged and ready. But as they approached, the warship was nowhere to be found. Commander, the Relic has disappeared, the officer said, his voice uneasy. Impossible, Cale growled. Scan again. It couldn't have. A blinding beam of light erupted from the darkness, striking one of the Xanthari ships. It exploded in a fiery burst, sending debris scattering through space. The Olympia decloaked, its sleek, black hull shimmering like a predator emerging from the shadows. Cale's eyes widened. Evasive maneuvers. Return fire. The Eclipse Squadron unleashed a barrage of plasma bolts, but the Olympia's shields absorbed the attacks effortlessly. Mira watched from the command chair, her heart pounding. Target their lead ship, she ordered, her voice steadier than she felt. Olympus complied, firing a concentrated energy beam that sliced through the Xanthari flagship's hull. The remaining ships scrambled to retreat, their confidence shattered. Let them go, Mira said as the surviving Xanthari flowed into hyperspace. As silence returned, Mira stared at the stars beyond the viewport. The Xanthari would come back, and next time, they wouldn't underestimate her. But for now, she had sent a message. Humanity's relics weren't jokes. They were nightmares. The galaxy had laughed at Earth for centuries. Now, for the first time, it began to fear what else might be buried on the forgotten planet. The Empire strikes. The Xanthari Empire didn't take humiliation lightly. Across the galaxy, word of the Eclipse Squadron's defeat sent shockwaves through their ranks. It wasn't just a loss. It was an insult, a reminder that humanity's relics were more than forgotten toys. For centuries, the galaxy had mocked Earth's decline, but now, those same relics were seen as a threat. On Xantaros Prime, the heart of the Xanthari Empire, Supreme Commander Vorak stood in the war room. Around him, holographic projections of Xanthari admirals and warlords flickered in a semicircle. Their expressions were grim as they analyzed the battle report. The Olympia floated in the projection, a black silhouette with pulsing red energy lines coursing through its hull. Vorak's voice was calm, but the rage simmering beneath it was palpable. You are telling me that one human, piloting an ancient relic, has destroyed 2 of our fleets? Yes, Supreme Commander, one of the admirals said hesitantly. The relic possesses technology far beyond our understanding. Its shields are impervious to our weaponry, and its offensive systems are devastating. Vorak's claws flexed, leaving deep gouges in the metal table. I want it destroyed, he growled. Not studied, not captured, destroyed. What good is our reputation if the galaxy sees us cowering before an old human toy? The admirals exchanged uneasy glances. One of them spoke up. Commander, we recommend deploying the Supreme Fleet. If the Olympia is as powerful as reports suggest, only our most advanced ships stand a chance. Vorak's eyes narrowed. The Supreme Fleet was his pride, a collection of the Xanthuri's most powerful warships, capable of reducing planets to ash. Deploying them for a single target was overkill, but the humiliation of another loss was unthinkable. Send the fleet, Vorak ordered. And make no mistake, this will not be a battle. It will be an extermination. Back on Earth, Captain Mira O'Connell paced the Olympia's bridge. The ship's eye, Olympus, hovered nearby, its glowing form flickering with faint blue light. You're saying they'll send their entire fleet after us? Mira asked, running a hand through her hair. Correct, Olympus replied. Based on historical patterns and Xanthuri protocols, they will consider the Olympia an existential threat. Their response will be overwhelming. Mira groaned. Great, so not only do I have the galaxy's biggest bullies coming for me, but they're bringing their entire arsenal. Fantastic. Your sarcasm is noted, Olympus said dryly. Mira stopped pacing and stared at the holographic display in front of her. It showed Earth, small and fragile, surrounded by a growing web of red dots, Xanthuri ships converging on her position. The odds were impossible, and she knew it. What's the plan? She asked. Olympus hesitated. The Olympia is equipped with a weapon capable of significantly reducing enemy numbers. However, it has not been tested in over 500 years. There is a 47% chance of catastrophic failure. Mira raised an eyebrow. Define catastrophic. The weapon may destabilize local spacetime, resulting in widespread destruction, Olympus explained. Mira stared at the AI. So it's a coin flip between saving Earth or breaking the galaxy. That's not much of a plan. There is another option, Olympus said. The Olympia has a stealth drive capable of evading the Xanthuri fleet. We could retreat and survive to fight another day. Mira frowned. Running away felt wrong. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about proving that humanity wasn't a forgotten relic, proving that Earth still mattered. No, she said firmly. We're not running. If they want to fight, we'll give them one. Hours later, the Xanthuri Supreme Fleet arrived. Hundreds of warships emerged from hyperspace, their sleek, black hulls reflecting the faint light of Earth's sun. At their center was the Eclipse Dreadnought, a ship so massive it cast a shadow over the planet below. On board the Eclipse, Commander Vorak observed the Olympia through a viewport. It was smaller than he expected, barely a speck compared to his dreadnought. But he wasn't fooled. He'd seen the battle reports, and he knew what the Olympia was capable of. Surround the target, Vorak ordered. No chances, no mercy. The Xanthuri ships began to encircle the Olympia, their weapons locked and ready. Inside the warship, Mira watched the display with growing dread. They're boxing us in, she muttered. We're outnumbered 100-1. Correct, Olympus said, but numbers are irrelevant when technology is on our side. The ship's weapon systems powered up, energy surging through its hull. Mira gripped the command chair tightly as the Olympia prepared for battle. Target the lead ships, she ordered. If we're going down, we're taking as many of them with us as we can. The Olympia's cannons roared to life, firing beams of pure energy that cut through the Xanthuri ships like paper. Explosions lit up the void, but the Supreme Fleet pressed on, their sheer numbers overwhelming. Suddenly, the Eclipse Dreadnought unleashed its main weapon, a massive plasma lance that streaked toward the Olympia. Mira braced for impact, but the ship's shields absorbed the blast, though barely. Shields at 42%, Olympus reported. "Keep firing," Mira shouted. The Olympia's ancient systems responded with deadly precision, taking out ship after ship. But the Zenthari weren't retreating. They were closing in. On the Eclipse, Vorak watched the battle with growing frustration. "This shouldn't be possible," he muttered. "How is one ship holding us off?" An officer approached him nervously. "Supreme Commander, if we don't neutralize the Olympia soon, it could." "I know what it could do," Vorak snapped. "Redirect all power to the Dreadnought's main cannon. We end this now." The Eclipse Dreadnought powered up for another attack, its plasma lance glowing brighter than before. Mira saw the energy spike on her display and realized what was coming. "Olympus," she said, her voice calm despite the chaos. "Activate the experimental weapon." "Understood," Olympus replied. The ship's hull began to shimmer, and a low hum filled the air. Outside, the space around the Olympia seemed to ripple, distorting as the ancient weapon charged. Vorak's eyes widened as the readings came in. "What are they doing?" Before anyone could answer, the Olympia unleashed its weapon, a massive surge of energy that tore through space, creating a shockwave that obliterated dozens of Zenthari ships in an instant. As the dust settled, the Supreme Fleet was in disarray. Vorak stared in disbelief as the Olympia powered down, its hull battered but still standing. "This isn't over," he growled. But for now, the galaxy had witnessed something they couldn't ignore. Humanity's relics weren't just old, they were unstoppable. Secrets of the past. The galaxy was no longer laughing. The destruction of the Zenthari Supreme Fleet had sent shockwaves across the stars, forcing species to reevaluate what they thought they knew about humans. Once a forgotten relic of an ancient past, the Olympia had become a living legend, a weapon capable of defying even the mightiest empire. In the aftermath of the battle, Captain Mira O'Connell slumped in the Olympia's command chair, exhaustion weighing heavily on her. The bridge was dim, flickering with damaged lights, and the air smelled faintly of ozone. Despite their victory, she couldn't shake the nagging sense of unease. "Olympus," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Status report." The ship's AI materialized beside her, its humanoid form flickering. "Shields are at 17%. Weapon systems are offline for recalibration. Hull integrity is at 72%. Repairs are underway, but it will take time." Mira sighed. "Time we don't have." She glanced at the holographic map, which now showed a scattering of alien ships approaching Earth's solar system. Not Zenthari, but a mix of factions. Some were scavengers, others emissaries, and a few were warships. The Olympia's sudden emergence had painted a massive target on Earth, and everyone wanted a piece. "What do they want?" Mira muttered. Olympus's voice was calm, yet edged with warning. "Many factions will seek to claim the Olympia for themselves. Others will see humanity's resurgence as a threat. We are entering a precarious era, Captain." As if on cue, the ship's communication system activated, displaying an incoming message from an alien vessel. The holographic screen flickered to life, revealing a figure wrapped in shimmering robes. Its elongated head and deep, silver eyes marked it as a member of the Krallis Collective, a species known for their neutrality and advanced knowledge. "Captain O'Connell," the alien spoke, its voice smooth and melodic. "I am Envoy Lyrian of the Krallis Collective. We bring neither weapons nor malice. We come with a warning." Mira straightened in her seat. "A warning? About what?" Lyrian's silver eyes seemed to darken. "The Zenthari were not the only threat in your past, nor are they the greatest. Your ship, the Olympia, was not built to fight mere empires. It was forged to confront a far greater enemy." The word sent a chill down Mira's spine. "What enemy?" Lyrian hesitated before answering. "In the time of your ancestors, there was a war unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Humanity led the charge against an extragalactic force, the Sorin Dominion. These invaders were not of this galaxy, and their technology was unlike anything we have ever encountered. Your people were the only ones capable of stopping them. The Olympia was one of the last ships built for that war. Mira frowned. If this Dominion was such a big deal, why hasn't anyone mentioned them? Why doesn't anyone remember? Lyrian's expression grew grim. Because your ancestors won the war, but at a terrible cost. They erased all knowledge of the Sorin Dominion, sealing it away along with their weapons, fearing that even the memory of such a threat could invite disaster. But now, something stirs beyond the galactic rim. Mira's pulse quickened. You're saying they're coming back? Perhaps, Lyrian said, or perhaps the activation of the Olympia has awakened old secrets better left buried. Either way, the galaxy will not remain idle. The Zenthari are humiliated, but they are rebuilding. Others will soon follow. And if the Sorin Dominion returns, your ship may be the only thing standing between survival and annihilation. After the transmission ended, Mira sat in stunned silence. Her hands gripped the armrests of her chair as her mind raced. She had been thrust into a war she barely understood, fighting enemies she couldn't even name. And now she was being told that something far worse was on the horizon. "What do we do, Olympus?" she asked finally. The AI's voice was calm, almost too calm. "We must prepare, Captain. The Olympia's systems were designed for interstellar warfare, but much of its technology remains locked. You must explore the ship further and recover its full capabilities." Mira nodded slowly. "And the other ships heading this way? The scavengers, the emissaries, the warships. Some will seek diplomacy," Olympus said. "Others will seek destruction. You must decide how to respond." As the alien ships began to arrive in Earth's orbit, Mira held a meeting with a hastily assembled council of Earth's leaders. They were a motley group: politicians, military generals, and corporate magnates, all of whom had ignored Earth's decline until the Olympia had made them relevant again. One of the generals, an older man with a scar running down his cheek, slammed his fist on the table. "We should use the Olympia to establish Earth's dominance again. Show these aliens that we're not to be trifled with." A politician shook her head. "That's suicide. We've barely survived this long without drawing attention. Now that we have, we should negotiate, build alliances." Mira listened to the bickering with growing frustration. Finally, she stood, her voice cutting through the noise. "Enough. This isn't about Earth reclaiming some imaginary throne, and it's not about hiding in a corner. The galaxy is waking up to the fact that humanity isn't dead. How we act now will define our future, for better or worse." The room fell silent. Mira continued, her voice steady. "The Olympia wasn't built for conquest. It wasn't built for survival, either. It was built to protect something greater than all of us. If we don't prepare for what's coming, Earth won't just lose. It'll cease to exist." Back aboard the Olympia, Mira began to explore deeper into the ship. Guided by Olympus, she uncovered hidden chambers filled with ancient weapons, tactical data, and encrypted logs. One log in particular caught her attention. It was a recording, blurry and degraded with time. A man in a dark uniform stared into the camera, his expression grim. "If you're watching this," the man said, "it means humanity has reawakened the Olympia. And if that's happened, it means the Sorin Dominion is returning. You are humanity's last hope. Do not fail." The recording ended abruptly, leaving Mira with more questions than answers. But one thing was clear: whatever humanity had buried in its past was coming back. And this time, the galaxy would face it together, or fall alone. Cliffhanger. As Mira stood in the dark chamber, Olympus spoke. "Captain, an unknown signal has been detected near the galactic rim. It matches the energy signature of the Sorin Dominion. The Supreme Fleet." The Zenthari Supreme Fleet had been shattered, but Supreme Commander Vorak was far from defeated. On Zentaros Prime, the galaxy's most fearsome warlord stood before a massive holographic map, his 4 eyes glaring at the blinking red marker that represented the Olympia. Around him, the war room buzzed with activity, admirals barking orders, technicians analyzing data, and spies feeding intelligence into the Zenthari's central network. Supreme Commander, a nervous officer began, our remaining forces are regrouping, but morale is strained. The fleet's destruction has shaken the Empire's confidence. Vorak silenced him with a single glare. I do not tolerate failure. This, Olympia may have won a battle, but it has only delayed its inevitable destruction. I will ensure the galaxy remembers why the Zenthari Empire rules unchallenged. He turned to a shadowy figure standing in the corner, cloaked in dark, metallic armor. Activate Project Erasure. Deploy the Omega-class dreadnoughts. I want that ship obliterated, along with anything that stands in our way. The figure stepped forward, its voice distorted and cold. As you command, Supreme Commander. The galaxy will witness Zenthari vengeance. On the Olympia, Captain Mira O'Connell was preparing for the fight of her life. The ship hummed with renewed energy as its self-repair systems brought critical systems back online. Mira stood in the ship's armory, staring at rows of ancient weapons, sleek, black rifles, pulse cannons, and grenades that emitted a faint, eerie glow. She felt like she was stepping into the past, into a world where humanity had been a force to be reckoned with. Olympus's holographic form materialized beside her. Captain, the Zenthari Supreme Fleet is mobilizing again. They are bringing Omega-class dreadnoughts, experimental warships designed to counter even the most advanced technology. Mira sighed. Of course they are. Why wouldn't they bring their best toys this time? There is more, Olympus said, its voice grave. We have intercepted transmissions indicating that the Zenthari are no longer just targeting the Olympia. They plan to destroy Earth entirely, to ensure no further relics can be uncovered. Mira clenched her fists. They're not just coming for me. They're coming for all of us. As Earth's leaders scrambled to prepare, an unlikely alliance began to form. Ships from the Crowless Collective, the mysterious and advanced species that had warned Mira of the Soran Dominion, arrived in Earth's orbit. Their sleek, golden vessels hovered near the Olympia like silent sentinels. Envoy Lyrian once again contacted Mira, their silver eyes filled with urgency. Captain O'Connell, the Zenthari's deployment of Omega-class dreadnoughts is a declaration of total war. Your ship alone cannot withstand them. The Krallis Collective offers its assistance, but it comes at a cost. Mira raised an eyebrow. What kind of cost? The Olympia holds secrets we have sought for centuries, Lyrian explained. Weapons, data, technologies that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Help us gain access to those secrets, and we will stand with you. Mira hesitated. She didn't trust the Krallis, but she couldn't deny their firepower would be invaluable. Fine, she said finally. But the Olympia's secrets stay under my control. No one gets to use them without my approval. Lyrian's lips curved into a faint smile. Agreed. As the Zenthari fleet closed in, Mira gathered her allies aboard the Olympia. The ship's bridge was a chaotic blend of human, Krallis, and a few rogue traders from neighboring systems who had chosen to side with Earth in the hope of claiming their own piece of glory. Olympus displayed a tactical map showing the incoming Zenthari fleet. The Omega-class dreadnoughts were massive, dwarfing even the Olympia. Each one carried weapons capable of obliterating planets, and their hulls were reinforced with energy shields far stronger than anything Mira had encountered. We're outnumbered 5-1, one of the rogue traders muttered, shaking his head. This is suicide. Not if we fight smart, Mira said. She gestured to the map. The Olympia has weapons they've never seen before, and the Krallis ships are faster than anything they've got. We hit them where it hurts, divide their forces, and take them out one by one. Lyrian nodded. A sound strategy, but it will require flawless execution. No pressure, Mira muttered, her lips quirking in a faint smirk. The battle began with a flash of light as the Zenthari fleet emerged from hyperspace. Their massive ships blotted out the stars, and their weapons glowed ominously as they powered up. The Olympia's cloaking system activated, allowing it to slip through the enemy ranks undetected. The first strike came from the Krallis ships, their golden beams slicing through the smaller Zenthuri vessels. Chaos erupted as the Zenthuri scrambled to respond. Mira took advantage of the distraction, positioning the Olympia behind one of the Omega-class dreadnoughts. "Fire the Nova cannon," she ordered. Olympus complied, and the ship's main weapon unleashed a blinding burst of energy. The Omega-class dreadnought's shields flickered and failed, and the cannon's second shot tore through its hull, reducing it to a massive explosion. But the Zenthuri were quick to adapt. The remaining dreadnoughts focused their fire on the Olympia, forcing Mira to retreat. The ship's shields held, but only barely. "We can't keep this up," Mira said through gritted teeth. "Olympus, is the experimental weapon ready?" "Not yet," the AI replied. "It requires more time to charge." "Then buy us some time," Mira said. "Whatever it takes." As the battle raged, Mira realized the Zenthuri were herding her toward a trap. The remaining Omega-class dreadnoughts had formed a perimeter, cutting off her escape. "This is it," Lyrian said grimly. "They mean to end this here." "Not if I have anything to say about it," Mira replied. She activated the Olympia's secondary systems, unleashing a swarm of automated drones. The drones darted through the Zenthuri fleet, targeting their engines and weapon systems with surgical precision. Chaos erupted once again as the fleet struggled to counter the unexpected assault. Finally, Olympus spoke. "The experimental weapon is ready, Captain." Mira's heart pounded. This was it, their last chance. "Activated," she said. The Olympia's hull shimmered, and a massive surge of energy erupted from its core. The energy formed a wave that rippled through space, disrupting the Zenthuri ship's systems and disabling their shields. "Now," Mira shouted. The combined forces of the Olympia and the Krallis collective struck, tearing through the Zenthuri fleet. One by one, the Omega-class dreadnoughts fell, until only debris remained. As the dust settled, Mira stared at the wreckage, her hands trembling. They had won, but the cost had been immense. Lyrian approached her, their expression unreadable. "The galaxy will not forget this day, Captain O'Connell. Humanity has proven it is not to be underestimated." Mira nodded, her gaze fixed on the stars. "And this is just the beginning." Cliffhanger. A faint signal interrupted their victory celebration. Olympus's voice echoed through the bridge. "Captain, an unknown vessel has entered the system. Energy readings match the Sorin Dominion." The final stand. The remnants of the Zenthuri fleet had barely retreated when the Olympia's sensors lit up with warning signals. The unknown vessel was enormous, dwarfing even the largest Zenthuri dreadnoughts. Its hull shimmered like liquid metal, and the energy it radiated was unlike anything recorded in galactic history. Mira O'Connell leaned forward in the command chair, her hands tightening on the armrests. "Olympus, what am I looking at?" The eye's form flickered beside her, its glowing humanoid figure pulsing faintly. The energy signature matches archived data from the Great Collapse. "This vessel belongs to the Sorin Dominion. Captain, we are no longer dealing with a Zenthuri threat." The weight of those words hung heavy on the bridge. The crew, humans, Krallis envoys, and rogue traders, stared at the holographic display in stunned silence. Envoy Lyrian broke the quiet, their silver eyes narrowing. The Dominion was supposed to be a legend, a ghost from the past. Yet here they are. Mira's voice was steady, though her heart pounded. Not a ghost. A storm that never truly ended. As the Sorin ship drew closer, its hull began to shift, forming strange patterns that looked almost organic. The vessel emitted a deep, resonant hum that made the Olympia's systems flicker. Olympus spoke, its voice edged with urgency. "The Sorin ship is scanning us. It is likely assessing the Olympia's capabilities. Captain, we must prepare for an engagement." Mira exhaled sharply. "Do we stand a chance?" "There is a 14% probability of success using conventional tactics," Olympus said. Mira laughed bitterly. 14%. Not exactly the odds I was hoping for. Lyrian stepped forward, their tone uncharacteristically firm. If the Sorin Dominion is truly returning, we must not let this ship leave alive. Its survival will signal to the rest of its fleet that resistance is futile. Then we'll make sure it doesn't leave, Mira said. She stood, her gaze sweeping over the assembled crew. This isn't just about Earth anymore. If we fail here, the entire galaxy falls. We fight, no matter the odds. The battle began before anyone could fully comprehend what they were up against. The Sorin ship unleashed a barrage of energy pulses that seemed to ripple through space itself. The first blast struck the Olympia's shields, sending shockwaves through the hull. Shields down to 62%, Olympus reported. Their weaponry bypasses standard energy defenses. Great, Mira muttered. Any weaknesses? Olympus's voice was grim. Their hull shows signs of organic integration. It is possible their systems are vulnerable to disruption, but we will need to get close to test this hypothesis. Close? Mira asked. How close? Within 500 meters. The bridge fell silent. Getting that close to a ship of this size was suicidal. But Mira's determination didn't waver. Plot a course, she said. We're going in. As the Olympia closed the distance, the Sorin ship shifted again. Parts of its hull seemed to unravel, revealing glowing crystalline structures that pulsed with light. It released a swarm of smaller vessels, drone-like ships that moved with eerie precision. They're launching fighters, one of the rogue traders shouted. Mira gritted her teeth. Olympus, deploy countermeasures. I don't want those things getting anywhere near us. The Olympia's weapon systems sprang to life, firing streams of energy that tore through the drones. Explosions lit up the void, but for every drone destroyed, another seemed to take its place. They're endless, Lyrian said, their voice tight. No, Mira replied. They're stalling. Her eyes locked on the Sorin ship, which was charging another attack. This time, the energy gathered at the crystalline structures, forming a beam that glowed with a blinding intensity. Olympus, evasive maneuvers, Mira shouted. The Olympia banked hard to the left, narrowly avoiding the beam. It tore through space, leaving a shimmering distortion in its wake. That's new, Mira muttered. Olympus, how's that experimental weapon looking? Fully charged, the eye replied. However, it requires precision targeting to disrupt the Sorin ship's systems. Then we're going to have to get a lot closer, Mira said. The Olympia weaved through the swarm of drones, its hull taking hit after hit. Sparks flew across the bridge as another blast struck the shields. Shields down to 28%, Olympus warned. Mira clenched her jaw. We just need one clean shot. Line it up. The Olympia approached the Sorin ship's hull, its weapons charging. The ship's crystalline structures glowed again, preparing to fire. Now, Mira shouted. The experimental weapon fired, releasing a pulse of energy that rippled across the Sorin ship's surface. The crystalline structures dimmed, and the ship's movement slowed. It's working, Lyrian said, their voice filled with surprise. But the victory was short-lived. The Sorin ship emitted a deep resonant hum, and its hull began to regenerate, the damage repairing itself in seconds. They're adapting, Olympus said. Their systems are integrating our attack patterns. Mira's mind raced. If they couldn't destroy the ship conventionally, they would have to take a different approach. Olympus, she said, her voice steady. What happens if we overload the core? Use the Olympia as a weapon. The AI hesitated. The resulting explosion would destroy the Sorin ship, but also the Olympia. You would not survive. Mira's chest tightened, but she didn't falter. If it's the only way to stop them, we don't have a choice. As the crew prepared for the final act, Lyrian approached Mira. You would sacrifice yourself for the galaxy, even knowing it might not be enough. Mira looked at the envoy, her expression calm. This ship wasn't built for survival. It was built to protect something bigger than itself. If that's what it takes, then so be it. The Olympia's core began to overload, its energy levels spiking. The Sorin ship seemed to sense the threat, its hull shifting frantically as it tried to retreat. But it was too late. The Olympia surged forward, colliding with the Sorin ship. The explosion was blinding, a supernova of energy that consumed both vessels. In the aftermath, silence returned to the void. The Sorin threat had been stopped, but at a cost. On Earth, the Krallis envoy delivered the news to a grieving planet. Captain Mira O'Connell and the Olympia gave their lives to protect us all. Humanity has proven it is not a relic of the past, it is the hope of the future. But in the distant reaches of the galaxy, a faint signal pulsed in the darkness. The Sorin Dominion was not finished. Cliffhanger. A lone Krallis scout ship detected the signal. On its screen, a chilling message repeated, "We are coming." The legacy of Olympia. The void where the Olympia had once stood was now a graveyard of twisted metal, glowing debris, and the faint remnants of a titanic explosion. The galaxy mourned the loss of a ship that had defied odds, shattered empires, and reignited humanity's place in the cosmos. Captain Mira O'Connell's name spread across star systems, whispered in reverence and awe. But not all was quiet. Far from the battle site, at the edge of the galactic rim, a shadow stirred. The faint pulse detected by the Krallis scout ship wasn't a distress signal or a remnant of the Sorin Dominion's destroyed vessel. It was a beacon. A cold, alien intelligence had activated it, its crystalline structure humming as it sent a call into the endless dark. And something answered. On Earth, Mira's sacrifice had not been forgotten. Her actions had unified a fractured world and brought alien factions together. The United Terran Assembly, a council hastily formed from Earth's leaders and its newfound allies, held its first session inside a rebuilt orbital station, high above the planet. At the head of the table sat Envoy Lyrian, their silver eyes scanning the room. The destruction of the Sorin ship was a victory, but it was not the end. We must prepare for what is to come. General Arden, the grizzled Earth representative, leaned forward. What exactly are we preparing for? We lost our best weapon. The Olympia's gone. Lyrian's expression didn't waver. The Olympia was humanity's first line of defense, but not its last. Your ancestors ensured there would be more. The room erupted in whispers, confusion spreading among the delegates. Mira's story had reignited belief in humanity's past, but no one had expected it to hold more secrets. Lyrian continued, "Our scouts have detected faint signals, similar to those emitted by the Olympia, emanating from deep beneath Earth's surface. It appears your ancestors hid an entire fleet." The revelation sent shockwaves through Earth's populace. Excavations began in earnest, led by human and Krallis teams. Beneath the sands of the Sahara, the jungles of the Amazon, and even the ruins of long-forgotten cities, enormous structures were uncovered. Each site held a relic, ships designed with the same sleek, deadly precision as the Olympia. But these warships were dormant, their systems locked behind layers of ancient encryption. As Earth raced against time to unlock the fleet, the galaxy's attention turned to the edge of the rim. The beacon's signal had grown stronger, its call spreading like a ripple through the void. Alien empires that had ignored the warnings of the Sorin Dominion now scrambled to mobilize their fleets. The Zenthari Empire, battered but not broken, began rallying under a new leader, one who sought revenge not just against Earth, but against the Dominion itself. Vorak's protege, Commander Kael'vern, had assumed control. Where Vorak had ruled with brute force, Kael was calculated and cunning. "The humans are digging up their past," Kael mused, staring at a holographic map of Earth. "But the Sorin Dominion will not wait. If we want to reclaim our place as rulers of the galaxy, we must strike first." The Zenthari ships began moving toward Earth, their path intersecting with fleets from other empires, some seeking alliance, others aiming to claim humanity's relics for themselves. In the Sahara, the excavation team finally unlocked one of the dormant warships. It was larger than the Olympia, with jagged, angular designs that gave it the appearance of a predator waiting to strike. As the ship powered up, its systems emitted a low guttural hum that resonated through the air. Envoy Lyrian stood beside General Arden and a team of engineers, their faces illuminated by the ship's eerie glow. "This is the Aegis, the first of the fleet," Lyrian said, "but its AI is different. It has evolved." The hologram of the ship's AI flickered to life. Unlike Olympus, the Aegis's eye was colder, its voice sharp and unyielding. Designation: Aegis. Command override required. State purpose: Arden stepped forward. "We're here to stop the Sorin Dominion. Earth needs your help." The AI scanned the group before replying. Insufficient credentials. Command transfer rejected. The engineers exchanged nervous glances. The Aegis didn't seem willing to comply. Mira's name was brought up, and the AI paused. Captain Mira O'Connell, deceased. She held command authority for the Olympia. Without her, this fleet will remain dormant. Lyrian's expression darkened. "Then we must act quickly. If the fleet remains offline, Earth and the galaxy will fall." As tensions rose, another signal interrupted the scene, a warning from the Krallis fleet. The Zenthari had arrived in orbit, joined by rogue factions hoping to scavenge Earth's relics. The Aegis's AI spoke again. Hostile forces detected. Partial activation authorized. The warship's systems roared to life, its weapons targeting the Zenthari fleet. Earth's remaining forces scrambled to assist, but the battle quickly escalated. The Zenthari unleashed new experimental weapons, bypassing Earth's defenses and targeting the excavation sites. Mira's legacy became more than just a name that day. In the chaos, one of the engineers, a young woman named Lena O'Connell, Mira's estranged cousin, stepped forward. Her DNA matched Mira's, granting her temporary access to the Aegis's systems. "You're the new captain," Lyrian said, their voice steady. Lena hesitated but nodded. "If this is what it takes to protect Earth, I'll do it." Under Lena's command, the Aegis coordinated with Earth's forces, pushing back the Zenthari fleet. But the true battle was yet to come. In the aftermath, the excavation teams uncovered more ships, each one more advanced than the last. Humanity's fleet was awakening, just as the Sorin Dominion's forces began to stir. The beacon at the galactic rim had stopped transmitting. In its place, a new signal emerged, a countdown. Lyrian stared at the data, their voice heavy with dread. "The Dominion isn't coming. They're already here." Final scene. On the edge of the galaxy, a massive Sorin fleet emerged from the void. Their ships were monstrous, organic-looking vessels that seemed to warp the space around them. At their center was a colossal mothership, its crystalline core pulsing with malevolent light. Inside one of the Sorin vessels, a figure stepped forward, humanoid, but not entirely. Its eyes glowed faintly as it stared at a hologram of Earth. "Humanity awakens once more," it said, its voice a chilling blend of curiosity and malice. "This time, they will not survive." Cliffhanger. The camera pans to Earth, where Lena stands on the bridge of the Aegis, staring at the stars. "Let them come," she says, her voice steady. "We'll show them what humanity is made of."